Hi, this is Jeff Beck for RoadTrailRun coming to you from Denver, Colorado, and I have the adidas Ultraboost 21. These showed up a couple days ago, but I haven't had much time to run in them until today, only a couple little treadmill runs. But now I've gotten to get some good mileage in them, and I have some thoughts. But first, let's get into the nitty-gritty, kind of break down the actual objective parts of the shoe compared to the last year's Ultraboost 20, and then get into how I feel about them. So first thing, they will launch in a few days. The official launch, I believe, is January 28th, and they'll be $180. So same price point they've been since they launched, I believe, in 2015. The official weight is 340 grams, which comes in just under 12 ounces. My size 11, which normally I'm a 10 and a half, but they didn't have any for review purposes, so they went up to an 11, is 398 grams. If you're familiar with the conversion, that's a 14-ounce shoe. And yeah, it's heavy. That makes it the heaviest road shoe I've ever reviewed. The official stack height is 20.5 millimeters under the forefoot and 30.5 under the heel, but I'm not quite sure where they do the measurement of that. I've busted out the digital calipers and I've yet to be able to find anything that quite lines up with that, but that's not, really always a good measure of how things are. It has, as you can see, tons of boost in the midsole. It has a new upper that's pretty cool. It's their Prime Blue, which is made from recycled ocean materials, ocean plastic, and it's really soft. I guess the biggest difference from last year is this massive plastic plate that, as you can see, is very overt. It's not hidden in the midsole like last year's shoe. If you look, here is the Ultraboost 20, and while there is this torsion bar, there's this little bit of plastic that goes forward as well as back, but it's all hidden within the boost. Whereas this year, it is right there in front of you. Also different is the width of the midsole. The forefoot is somewhere between 4 and 5 millimeters wider when you measure from the widest point to the widest point, from the 20 to the 21. The heel is about 6 millimeters wider, and the arch is about 4 millimeters wider as well. All told, it makes for a much wider shoe, which probably means that's why it's now 1.3 ounces heavier, because last year's shoe, the 20, came in at 12.7 ounces on the same scale. So not quite an apples to apples, considering that this is a 10.5 and this is an 11, but within the ballpark, within the margin, so to speak. Now that I've gotten to get some good miles, I ran 7 miles in it today out in the street, and I have to say I don't really love this shoe. I want to. Aesthetically, I think it looks really cool, and it's very comfortable. This knit feels really good. It's very soft, it's very smooth, but in a way that can be an issue because this area right here around the heel is so smooth. I was experiencing some heel slip. There are some pods in here that can help with that, but they didn't really do the trick. Also, they really have this, they've brought back this big plastic midfoot cage, and unfortunately that means that you can't do a runner's loop if you want to because there's no extra eyelet. So you're kind of out of luck there. The rest of the upper has a lot of good stretch, except there is a toe bumper here that's reinforced by either some plastic or rubber, and it keeps the shoe from moving too much. I thought it was a pretty good toe box, but after my run today, I started noticing some irritation on both small toe. So it's an adequate toe box. It's not an incredible one. But the big issue with this shoe really is this midsole, and more importantly, I think for me, it's this plate. Because I am a midfoot striker, and I also supinate. So I land around here, and I typically stay on the outside. Maybe this wouldn't be the case if I was a heel striker and landed back here. But it was a very jarring ride. It never felt very smooth. Almost every single footfall sounded almost like a horse clopping. It didn't ever... I never found really my stride with this shoe. It always felt like I was trying to make it work instead of it just working. And there's too many good shoes out there to try to make one work, and this one really, I don't think is going to be high on my list of shoes of the year by the time this year is over. Another thing I noticed is this midsole there's a quite a bit higher stack on the medial side than the lateral side. Unfortunately for me, as a supinator, I spend almost all my time on the lateral side, so there's a lot of cushioning that I'm not taking advantage of, but I can't change up my stride just to make it work. I did notice at one point today, in today's run, I had a very, very steep downhill section, and instead of just keeping to my easy pace, I decided to turn it up, and I got to about a 6:30 pace. And they actually felt really good at that point. There was a very fast turnover, which for a shoe of this heft was very surprising. Oh, one other element to compare to the old shoe is how much more toe spring there is. If you look at that, there's a substantial amount of rocker or toe spring in the 21, where the 20 is much flatter. And I think that does aid its faster turnover. I don't think it saves it though. I think it really has some issues, and it won't be, there's a number of runners I'm sure that'll find a place for it, but I really think this shoe will excel as a casual shoe that maybe you run in sometime. I've wanted to try to make the Ultraboost a decent, I think that they want to make it a better running shoe than it is. I just don't think it's there. I think that Boost is now in its 8th year, and it's really long in the tooth, and it's just so dense, and there's not that much responsiveness to it. Especially, it's an unfair comparison coming straight from the Nike Invincible, which the Zoom X midsole is so responsive, and there's so much bounce to it, and Boost just feels dull and lifeless by comparison. So the shoe was likely set up to fail coming right in at the same price point as Nike's new heavy hitter, but even in a vacuum, I'm not sure how great this running shoe would be. As a casual shoe, I think it's incredible. I think it's super comfortable. I think it looks good. I think you can wear it most of the day, and it's a firm enough midsole. Your feet aren't going to get tired. Your feet aren't going to get sore. But I don't think that it belongs in your running rotation, at least not yet. I still have a few more miles to put on, and then we're going to work on the multi-tester written review coming in the next week or two. But thus far, I'm very underwhelmed by the Ultraboost 21. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news if you've been looking forward to this shoe. And who knows, maybe you'll love it, but I definitely do not, at least thus far. Thanks for watching, and check out our review when we have it up in the next week or so. Have a good night.